Hi there and welcome everybody. Thank you very much for joining us for today's APMG webinar. It's less of a webinar and more of a taster session today for the Agile Change Agent Training and Certification with Melanie Franklin, who is the Chief Examiner and also the author of the Agile Change Management book that the course is based on. We're delighted to be welcoming Melanie today. Thank you very much for joining us and giving us your time, Mel, and all the advice that I know that you're about to give everybody who's listening. Just before we start, I'll point out that the session is being recorded and you will receive the recording if you've registered for the webinar. We'll send you that with the slides very soon. Please do ask questions and engage throughout the webinar. We may well be opening mics at the end of the webinar for questions if you'd like to submit those to Mel. So if you could pop those in as we go through, as they come to mind, and then we can come back to you at the end of the webinar there. And finally, we welcome your feedback. I'm sure that you'll give it to us. So good or bad, please let us know what you're thinking. Without further ado, I'm going to hand straight over to Mel for your 45-minute taster session on Agile Change Agent.
Hi there. I'm just going to dig straight in. An incredibly popular course, but I know lots of people are still getting to grips with what this course is all about. So I thought I'd start with who is the course for. In our world, when we're trying to make change happen, really there are two perspectives that we're interested in. The first is everybody who has a role in running the business. That means they've got a day job, effectively, and their job title might be in finance or HR. They might be in operations in some kind of role. They might be in an administrative function. In some way, they are providing the services and the products that ultimately the customer buys from your organization. So really, we're looking at all of those staff who are impacted by change. And their priorities really are the day job, use existing ways of working to satisfy current customer demand, get the job done. But on top of that, they have to act as change agents. They're mobilizing their colleagues and themselves to participate in the change. Change is really special because change is about changing how you work, making a decision yourself. Okay, I'm going to try this a different way. Okay, I'm going to use this different platform. All right, I don't need to use that form anymore because we've got rid of that. I need to tell the customers this instead. It's every single little change that you have to make to how you get the job done. And the change agent network is becoming something that is incredibly popular within organizations. People might not be called change agents, they might be called change ambassadors, business ambassadors, change champions, change navigators. They're all about this idea that actually on top of the day job, they have a role to help make change happen and ultimately integrate change into the current ways of working. So this course is designed for those people. But there's no point having a course that only sort of tackles one area. This course is also relevant for anybody who is in a project or change management role, where on the green side here, the role is to change the business. So the priorities there are about introducing new ideas, new ways of working, identifying activities that will actually help implement new ways of working, and to help those who are in the business who are performing that change agent role. So it is about bringing everybody together. One of the key things that we look in at this course is all about collaboration and how do we work together. And I think one of the things that we draw out in this course is a recognition that there are these different perspectives. And in fact, if you happen to be doing the day job, change is probably an irritant because it gets in the way of you using your existing habits, your existing sort of skills and techniques to get things done really quickly. It slows you down because you have to think through a new way of working. Whereas everybody on the other side is thinking, change is great because it's your day job. Actually making change happen is what you're supposed to be doing. It's what your priorities are all about. And so it's about how do we bring these groups of people together and how do we make sure that we've done some course materials that are useful for both, because it is recognizing that everybody's coming from some very, very different perspectives. So what I've done is I've used 30 years of experience really about getting the job done, and the fact that I am still running big programs of work. So I'm currently running several big initiatives around the world that are about making change happen. Cultural change, behavior change, process-driven change, IT-driven change, you name it, it's part of my day job. It might be on one side, bringing in a whole new platform and launching a new product off the back of that platform globally. That's one of the things I'm doing later on today. This is a big project initiative that will take the next 2 months to get done. But of course, there's the idea that I have to create all those deliverables, but at the same time, I've also got to persuade everybody that who's affected that they actually want to start using those deliverables and that they want to bring them into their way of working. And so that's my day job. So what I've done is I've tried to use all of my experience to work out what it is that makes a change successful. What is it that you really need to know? How do you do these things? Because one of the things that really obsessed me when I was designing this course, and in fact when I was writing the Agile Change Management Handbook, was that I often go on courses which tell me what I should be doing and tells me how important it is that I do those things. But then it doesn't give me enough idea about, but how am I supposed to do it? So I've absorbed that it's important. I've worked out when I'm supposed to be doing it in the life cycle of the project or change. But then it doesn't give me any help about how to do it. Whereas this course is all about, hang on, how do you do that? So it's all about the techniques, really. So there are 5 sections to the course, really. The first is that we accept the fact that it's all about this idea of an agile approach to change. An agile approach to change is about doing change in waves of change. And it's about accepting the first and most important common sense thought, which is that perhaps in this world of very fast moving change, maybe it's not a good idea to try to plan in detail every single thing up front. Maybe it will be better to do a little bit, get it out there, see what the reaction is, and then maybe add some more to it or fine tune what you originally delivered. So it's the age-old idea of an evolving solution or emergent change. So there are the concepts of Agile that underpin this entire course. It doesn't matter if you've studied Agile before or you know nothing about it. I make sure that in the course materials, we all come up to the same level of understanding so that we understand how this Agile approach will actually help us. What we've got is we've got a roadmap. That roadmap is broken into chunks. It's repeatable because you repeat it for every iteration. It's scalable. One of the things that I've been really interested in is this very simple roadmap that I've created and how it can be used for running multiple projects that are all interdependent. So you can use it for a agile program management approach, as well as an agile project approach. So it can be used for an individual initiative, or it can be used for multiple initiatives. It's that simple, it's that intuitive. And it's very transparent about what should be happening when. So it's easy to track if you're on course or not. Because my design principle, I wasn't assuming that everybody's a brilliant planner. I wasn't assuming that everybody's come up through the project management world and knows how to create a plan of all the things they need to be doing. I was just trying to set out, look, if you answer these questions and if you do these things, pretty much you'll be on course for success. So I've tried to keep it really simple every step of the way. What I've done is I've divided benefits for 2 very important purposes. The first is that you can use those benefits to prioritize what you decide to do. We're all in the same boat. There's more work, there's more ideas than we've got time for. And so this prioritization skill is absolutely critical. And you're going to find on this course, by the way, that nearly everything that we cover is almost like a 21st century leadership academy, because all of the things that I'm teaching you in this course are things that you need to progress your career, because they are all things that you will use in any situation. Some of the things that I'm covering on this course, I use for people who've just started work and who are trying to make things happen, but I also use them in the boardroom as well, and they are just as valid there. So I'm making sure that I'm future-proofing what you know and how to do things, because these are things you're going to constantly turn back to and think, oh, really glad that we got hold of that. So we're going to look at using benefits to prioritize, to decide this activity is really important because it'll help me create the benefits. This activity, it's interesting, but I don't think it's quite aligned to creating the benefits. So prioritization. But also there's this whole thing around using the benefits for motivation, because benefits make you feel this is valuable, this is helpful, this is going to make a difference. So you get that sort of feeling of, oh, I want to be doing that. So the scope leads to the benefits, but the scope also leads to strategy. Now that might seem a big word, but really what we're talking about here is you deciding what your approach is going to be. How are you going to manage this? How are you going to make it work? Who do you need to involve? And really importantly, we're going to be looking at environment. We're going to be looking at sort of how we do things around here, that opportunity you have for sort of saying, right, this is how I think we should work together. And you can obviously pose that question to everybody involved and get all their ideas. But what you're going to do up front, really early, is decide, how do we want to approach this ourselves? How do we want to treat each other? How do we want to make decisions? How do we want to handle problems when they come up? How do we want to share information? So this course gives you lots of practical techniques for establishing a way forward, something that you can go back and revisit as circumstances change, but you've set out, right, this is going to be our approach. It's almost like your little charter, if you like, but it's a really simple thing that you can do that everybody's aware of and go, but this is how we behave on this particular initiative. This is how we get stuff done. And then what happens is that we bring those together. And one of the things that underpins this course is that we are all involved in creating motivation for ourselves and for everybody that's impacted by the change. Because change doesn't happen if one of us decides to work differently. Everybody who's impacted has to decide to work differently. So we're all interested in that, creating the motivation, that feeling of, yeah, I want to get involved. So iteration 1 is really, really simple, but what it's got is a whole load of techniques and questions in there that help you work out, okay, what am I going to be doing? How I'm going to be doing it? Again, it's about keeping the roadmap really simple. What I didn't want to do was I didn't want to give you a whole load of sort of documents and go, you must write this up and write this and write this, because I'm not sure that's how our world works anymore. I wanted to keep things simple and intuitive because that's how I'm seeing an awful lot of initiatives being run. But I did want to give you a how-to guide, and that's really what this course is. You can choose to do some of it, all of it, or not apply any of it at all if you wanted to. But what I find is that people go away from this course going, oh, you've really given me the answers. Thanks for that. And of course, they're going to interpret it that's relevant to their own organisation. But it makes a difference when you know, I know what the next step is. And you actually sit up a bit straighter and you feel a little bit more confident because you think, I've actually got all this worked out. I know what I'm doing. And it does change your confidence level about how you engage with other people, which is really what excites me. So hopefully what I've given you, as I said, is a roadmap. And what we've done is we've looked at iteration 1, which is the meaning, the purpose and the value. And then iteration 2 and 3 and 4. So what you do is you hold back a little bit of time for iteration 1, a small proportion of whatever time you've got available. So maybe you've got 10 weeks to get something done. Maybe hold back a week to do iteration 1, all the brainstorming of all the key questions like the scope and the benefits and your strategy, and therefore getting the motivation ready. But if you've got something that's going to take you 6 months, maybe that's 26 weeks, maybe you want to give yourself just a couple of weeks on iteration 1. But the rest of that time is then going to be chunked up to actually making things happen. And going back to our original idea of run the business, change the business, what we're going to be doing in each of those iterations is we're going to be doing a piece of work. And what that piece of work is all about is the project outputs, if you like, the tangible change, which is the new system, new process, whatever. It's a new thing that's being created. Or it could be a revised thing that you're doing. You're putting in version 2 of a system, for example. But whatever it is, it's the tangible thing that triggers the behavioural change the new habits, the new approach, the new way of working, the new routines that you've got to get into. And what we're doing in this course is we're saying, look, it's not that we do the project work over here and then we do the change work over here. They're not two separate things. We bring them together because those who are impacted by change need to help shape the project deliverables, but at the same time, they need that early insight into the project deliverables to work out, how do we need to change what we do? Because they've got to work out, can we streamline the process that we use? Can we get rid of some of our reporting or some of our templates? We need to tell our customers earlier in the life cycle about something, or we need to make that change with the supplier. So what they need is early insight of those project outputs, if you like, and what the project team need is their involvement in those outputs to shape them to be the right thing. So we bring that together in iteration 2 and 3 and 4. So that's really to the heart of what we're doing in terms of making change happen. And we've got lots and lots of techniques where we actually sort of do that to make sure that you're sort of feeling good about that. And then what we get on to is we start to look at collaboration. Again, it's one of those big sort of agile concepts, but we're really interested in, hang on, but how does this work in practice? I get sick of going on courses which are telling me that it's really important that we collaborate without giving me any idea of how I might actually make it happen. And so this course, what you can see already is that we've covered things like the roadmap. We've covered the idea of the business value and the benefits of what we're doing. And now for this collaboration piece, we've got another 2 parts of the course, which are going to be about relationship building and creating that environment, that local culture that encourages people to work together. So you find that when we're doing the techniques, so the techniques include things like understanding how you like to work, understanding how you come across, understanding how perhaps you can sort of build your skills in terms of your own leadership ability. So we actually dissect things like, well, we know trust is really important, but can you give me a recipe for how I sort of build trust with people? I know listening and being empathetic is really important, but sorry, what is empathy and how do I do it? So every single thing that looks a bit touchy-feely and looks like a really good idea, and you're always being told that you must be this thing, we actually take that apart in the course and go, yeah, but here's how you might actually achieve it. So it's all about using ideas from behavioral economics, psychology, and neuroscience. Don't worry, it's really simple. We take it in to make it really simple little techniques that you can use. So dotted throughout the course are lots and lots of activities where you get to do things. And it's all about, at the end of the day, do you know how to run a change more than you knew how to run it before? So in building those sort of skills, we've had a look at things like the concepts of Agile. So you'll understand Agile. The roadmap actually is based on the concepts of Agile, and it's a really good place to start in the sort of Agile for beginners, because you think, oh yeah, okay, this is simple stuff. I've heard about Agile, but now I understand what it's all about. I understand why it's useful, why it's relevant. So you'll get to sort of build that. You'll get to build your own version of the roadmap. So you'll be asked to sort of start to think about your own projects, your own initiatives, and actually put your own content into this so that you can have a real play throughout the course, so you can actually sort of really practice doing things for yourself. But at the same time, you're doing, if you think about this course is sort of almost in 2 halves, because we'll look at the roadmap and we'll look at everything around identifying the benefits. So down the bottom there, we'll do techniques like the benefits dependency network. We'll look at the community map. We'll look at a benefits breakdown structure. We'll look at decomposing a plan into the key elements that you want to deliver. So we do lots and lots of practical things that will give you, if you like, a really solid basis that says, look, this is my change. These are all the elements of my change. And I've used the roadmap to work out what comes first, and then maybe what I do in the next wave. And then when I've got through wave iteration 2, if you like, I can start thinking about I've got an idea about iteration 3, I can already start to think about iteration 4. So you're constantly sort of working ahead all the time so that you can give people an idea of what's coming up next. And that sort of half of the course, I think, gives you some really good structural skills, some really good technical planning skills, technical analysis skills. Because, you know, years ago I was a business analyst, so I can't help but bring those sort of analytical skills to bear on what we're doing. But then we start looking at, well, if I have got this plan, it only works if I can engage with people and if I can truly collaborate, actually work with people so that together we form a team that actually gets this change up and running so that that change becomes the new norm. So the second half of the course is about how you think, feel, behave, how you like to do things, what you like to do first, when you like to do it, how you like to break something down. And then think, what about your audience? Some of them are going to be like you, and some of them are going to be the opposite of you. How do you bridge that gap? So lots of practical activities about how you genuinely form that relationship with people. So we hear all these wonderful words that are talked about. As I've said, you know, empathy is often a big one. Empowerment is another one. We talk about intrinsic motivation, that sort of internal fire for getting things done. But we don't always talk about how to do it. So what you're going to find is that that's been broken down step by step into lots of ideas from some of the greatest thinkers in the world, but turned into practical activities that I've road tested over the years and that I know make a great deal of difference, so that you know, I can do this. This is going to be fine, because that's the feeling that I want you to walk away from, the course feeling. So really what the course is all about is learn by doing, not by listening. So you can see here that there are some mandatory bits and pieces in there around the concepts of relationship building and things. A few optional bits on extras, if you like, on understanding change management and understanding the agile approaches. So that will all help you. But then look at the number of sort of pale orange boxes that are all about activities. So it's all about, on this course, you will have debates, you'll share experiences with people, and everything's been upgraded, by the way, for our new world, which is virtual. So it's not just that, you know, the course is being delivered over the idea of Microsoft Teams or Zoom or Google Hangouts, but also that we take on board the fact that perhaps now we're managing and we're trying to make change happen in a virtual world. So I've updated all the materials to reflect the fact that we're not all sat in the office together. We're not all running a workshop where we're physically together and we're writing on flip charts, because I just don't think that maybe training you in something that isn't necessarily going to be a part of your world, maybe not for the next year or two, until there's a vaccine, I'm not sure we're going to go back to how the world used to be. So I want to make sure that everything's sort of been updated to reflect our real experiences. And so we'll work on all of these things together, and we'll have really honest and open conversations about the things that we're struggling with. Because as I've said, I'm leading a number of changes as well. So I keep it really practical because of the fact that I'm trying to do the same job that everybody that's attending the course is actually doing as well, looking at it from all sorts of different perspectives. So it's very much a techniques driven course. Now, why should you be interested? I started this little taster by talking about the fact that it was for people who run the business and have the day job and actually do things that service customers. And then we've got those who are in the change the business world, who come from project and program management, who maybe come from the PMO, who've got a change management role, and whose job it is to help actually get new initiatives up and running. What I did this morning, and it literally was this morning, only a couple of hours ago, I went onto LinkedIn and I basically called up just some job descriptions because I wanted to take things sort of live for you. So if you happen to be on this call and you're a change practitioner, why is the Agile Change Agent certification relevant to you? I've said it's going to build your confidence, it's going to give you loads of techniques, but why do you care? Well, because these things are in your job description. So this one is quite a big role about being accountable for scoping, planning, managing and delivering large-scale change. So it's all about that whole idea of, you know, hang on, what am I trying to do here? I'm trying to make business change happen. The next comment, identify the behaviours needed to enable the change. And it's not just identifying those behaviours though, is it? It's actually then coaching and preparing individuals to work in new ways. Then we've got business change provides a bridge between projects and programs, and ensuring that activities are planned and tailored and completed to enable the business to embed the agreed change. So embed is just another word for making it, you know, the new norm, if you like. And of course, as a result of that, if everybody's now working in a new way, that's when the organisation is going to get the benefits. So if you're a change practitioner, there's a lot of stuff in this course that's relevant to you. If you're from the project or program management side, or you're from a PMO, then why is it relevant? Well, you're worried about the sort of the things you're creating. Those agreed deliverables have got to be implemented. You see, accountable for the quality, the coordination, and the implementation of the agreed project deliverables. We know that the world of project management is changing, and changing quite fast, and that many organisations are now saying, hang on, you can't just go over in a dark corner over there and create new stuff and then throw it to those in the business and say, here you go, use that. You're actually a part of this. You're actually a part of the team that helps them adjust to these new project deliverables, learning to use them, making them a part of their day job. So this course really does reflect what's happening in our marketplace, which is that world is that you've got a bigger role than you've ever had before. Again, this was another line. I mean, there were so many of them. I could have pulled out hundreds of these. Ensure your project deliverables are implemented and adopted by the business. And of course, as a result of that, that you are responsible for something wider than just the project delivery, that you're responsible for making sure that a positive difference has been made, that you've realised benefits, you've cut costs, or there's greater revenue, greater efficiencies. And then finally, you could be a line manager doing any kind of job, finance, marketing, HR, operations, you name it. And why are you interested in this course? Well, it's actually because your job has also been widening out over the last few years. And again, this is very representative. Your job, this happened to be, the one I picked out was for finance, but I actually then saw a few others that were in marketing and HR, and they use almost the same phrases, implementing new processes and procedures across finance and rolling these out across the business, or implementing new processes and procedures across HR and rolling these out across the business. So it is all about getting people on board to change their ways of working and make things happen. And then here's another one, you know, work with your team. So whatever role you've got to work with your colleagues, your team members, so that they're willing and able and motivated to embrace whatever the change is that's coming. And again, just pulling these out from LinkedIn job descriptions this morning, I think is really important, that the world is changing. That I had a big discussion with the chief executive this morning about change management, funnily enough. And he was sort of saying, I think we've come to a world where sort of actually, as far as the sort of projects and change, projects are a subset of change, in that projects deliver the tangible stuff, but it's all the behaviour change and how we actually create new ways of working that make the difference to the business. So that was the sort of the key thing that he wanted to say. And okay, all right, get that. And he said, but it's a leadership skill, isn't it? Everybody needs to be able to make transformation happen. He said, because if you can't change what you're doing, then you just get stuck doing the same old thing. And that becomes less relevant with every day that passes. He was quite a lively CEO, I'll be honest. For a first thing on a Monday morning, it was a lot to take in. But he hasn't been saying anything that an awful lot of other organisations aren't saying as well, that everybody needs to know about change management is really the thing. Now, I know that Estelle's got lots of questions for me. So the last thing I'm just going to put up, which you can read, but you could actually read these off my Trustpilot account, Agile Change Management, if you wanted to. I literally, I went through a few reviews this morning and just copied and pasted these comments. The things that thrill me, it's lovely when somebody said, I couldn't recommend this course highly enough. That's lovely. But I love things like hugely practical, I know I'll refer to the visuals for years to come. A course suited to all levels of experience, best investment I've made in my career in a long time, and provided great practical application. The information was well organized and made sense. The exercises were pertinent. These are people that I have not paid to say this, and these are genuine experiences, and I can talk with a smile on my face because I just get the most amazing thank you emails as well. It's really lovely after the course to hear what people are saying, and just really enjoying the content and the opportunity to practice things guided by me as the trainer. So that's lovely. So over to you, Estelle, because I think you want to ask me a whole load of questions.
Well, I always want to ask you a whole load of questions, Mel, but actually it's the audience that are asking, which is great. We've had loads of questions coming through. So firstly, huge thank you to everybody for doing that, because I know sometimes it's a bit scary to hit that button. So we will start off, say a big hello to Dan from Kettering there, but we'll start off with Khalid, who's saying, how is Agile Change Agent certification different from Change Management Foundation and Practitioner?
The Change Management Foundation and Practitioner, which I also train and I adore, by the way. I think it's fantastic as a foundational level. Really, if you really want to understand the ins and outs of the psychology of change, and you want to know all the theories and models, I highly recommend this course. The Effective Change Manager's Handbook is the course material, and it's based on the Change Management Institute's body of knowledge. I love it. I think it's brilliant. But what I wanted to do was give people a practical course. If they've already been on that course and they just want to know, okay, I know all the theories and models, but talk to me more about how I actually make it happen in practice, give me a course for that. And if you haven't been on the Change Management Foundation and Practitioner course, and you don't want to study all the theory and models behind change management, but you still want to know, yeah, but show me how I can make change happen in my organization, that's why I wanted to give you this course.
Fantastic, thank you. And we have this one, which is how do you align change management scope to the evolving and prioritized delivery from the Agile delivery teams? Delivery scope is likely to change as sprints are concluded and reprioritized.
It is indeed, and this is where the roadmap comes into its own, really, because if you can see here, we've got output, and then we've got we're taking people through the new ways of working on that transition curve, and of course, we can't put project teams into a situation where we're saying, hey, you need to tell me every project output you're going to be creating, and then I'll work out how I'm going to create new ways of working off the back of it. We're in this together. Our work is evolving about how we change the processes, the policies, the standards, the metrics that we use to get the job done is changing just as much as the project outputs are changing. We all learn. So this is why collaboration is so important, because on every iteration, we're coming together, the project team and those in the business that are trying to make the change happen, and perhaps change management roles who are trying to sort of act as the bridge between them. We're all in this together. And so therefore what we do is we take it chunk by chunk by chunk. And we go, and we often start, on a really practical basis. I often end up starting with my project team saying, right, okay, when do you think your first deliverable is going to be available? And they might say 10 weeks from now. And I will take them through, right, these are all the things that we'll need to change in the business if that project deliverable is ever going to get up and running and go into use. So we've got a busy 10 weeks, you've got a busy 10 weeks. How about we work on that together, and then we'll look at the next deliverable after that, because this will keep us fairly busy for the next 10 weeks. So it is about a genuine collaboration between the two of us.
That's brilliant. Thank you for that question, Andrew. We've had two people asking, will you be sharing the templates to break down the change down in chunks? Sorry about my reading here, Mel.
Yes, as a part of the course, we do that. And also the course has questionnaires, it has checklists, it has agendas various meetings you might want to hold. But basically on the course, you get to do this and you get to share your results and we get to learn from each other. So I do a whole piece on almost, if you like, decomposition, where you take the big change, the end game, and then you start to work out, well, how am I going to divide that into actual changes I need to make, and then sub changes, and then start to look at, okay, how am I going to organize all of this? So that roadmap is absolutely the, if you like, it's the key template. And this is why I did this diagram, because I think it runs core throughout the course. And once you've learned that, it all makes sense. You go, oh, I can do this. And that's what people do. They take lots of different changes on the course and they go off and they actually break them down and we walk through them together. And what I do is I make sure that people can also email me during the course. They might not be sharing everything on screen, and during the lunch breaks I'm looking at stuff, I'm commenting on it, I'm giving my own advice about how I would reorganize some things or things I think they've missed out. So I think it's almost, it's part training, it's part consultancy, if I'm really honest.
Thank you. And this one comes from Suchitra. And she says, oh, sorry, that I beg your pardon, Suchitra, that was you asking for the templates. Apologies. So Khalid also asks, how does the Agile Change Agent certification help IT business analysts, and how can it help in digital business transformation?
I think as far as business analysts are concerned, again, you're part of the collaborative group. And I think it's about understanding, and I think the feedback I get from a lot of business analysts is what they love about the roadmap is that it just shows where their work fits in. And what you'll find when we break the roadmap down into all of its little steps is that in the discovery part of the roadmap that happens at the start of every iteration, you can quite clearly see where the role of the business analyst is so critical in helping to brainstorm all of the things that need to get done, actually helping the business to take their ideas and actually to put them into a sort of lean, intuitive process model. They're going, yeah, this is how we're going to do things. So really it's about the business analyst sort of understanding, oh yeah, this is the contribution I'm making, I see where I fit in, I see who I'm working with. And so I think business analysts do get a lot out of this course. As far as digital transformation, which is a really very wide-ranging subject, but in any transformation, whether it's digitally based, I'm running one at the moment, which is it's a slow burn because it's about digitizing processes. It's about greater use of data analytics across the business. It's changing a lot of people's roles. And as with any of those transformations, what we do as part of the roadmap chapter is we break down what that transformation is trying to achieve. So we use those decomposition sort of planning skills. We look for all the benefits of all those things we're going to do, and it helps us prioritize all of that work. So if you like, it's a bit like, how do you eat an elephant? Sort of like one toenail at a time. And that's what the decomposition is all about. You've got a massive digital transformation. Well, okay, we can use this to break that down into some relatively straightforward, easy steps to get started, and then we'll build on those as we go through.
And there's no offence intended to those of you that are vegetarians that are listening. You don't have to eat an elephant, that's fine.
Same thing for a large piece of tofu. You could eat it one spoonful at a time. Yeah.
Daniela says, thank you very much for the amazing introduction. And is the training also in an online format?
It's virtual in that I do the training at the moment. I'm doing some courses next week, one in the UK, one in the US. So contact me if you want the last couple of places for that. But the virtual event, there will be sometime next year, there will be an online course which has, you know, that you can study whenever you want to. But at the moment, I'm doing 2 days online, sort of virtual like this in a way, where we do lots of sharing of experiences, and it's gone down a treat. So really good feedback.
Brilliant. Anthony says, what would be your first step in creating a change ambassador network in a business?
I do this for a living. Let's make some assumptions here. That the first assumption is that I have used a lot of what's on this course already. In terms of what we've done is we've done iteration 1, where we've looked at the scope, we've looked at the benefits and the strategy. We've started to look, therefore, at the impact of the change. Who's going to be affected? Who do I need to start collaborating with? So let's assume that I've got an idea about that. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be looking at the organisation structure and sort of saying, well, okay, all of these offices or all of these functions within an office are going to be affected by the change. So I build almost like a pyramid scheme of sort of saying, okay, so I want some change agents in each of these business functions. And then what I want is for those change agents to find people who they perhaps have influence over. And I want to make sure I upskill them. So a lot of the relationship building and the environment part of this course is used by those change agent networks to grow their own sort of leadership skills, their own persuasive motivational skills, to develop empathy with their colleagues, and to build up trust so that they can actually then sort of drive the change, if you like, down further and further and further into every sort of process within the organization. So it's almost like, think of it as a pyramid scheme. You find your first few change agents along the top, and then you encourage them, you train them up to actually be able to find their next set of sort of group of people that they can then train, and then they train, and then they train. So it's that pyramid scheme. But I can't build the pyramid unless I've got both the impact of the change, what the scale of the change is, but also the organisation structure, so I can understand who I should be sort of pulling across.
Thanks, Mel. Now, I know we said 45 minutes, but as the questions are coming in, are you happy to continue going over time? That's brilliant. Yeah. Okay, thank you. So Vinay says, would reading the Agile Change, he's got two questions, or she's got two questions, sorry. Would reading the Agile Change Management book by you be useful before we start the course? And is the change practitioner course more suitable for senior roles rather than the Agile Change Agent?
Right, the Agile Change Management Handbook is the course reading for this book. So when you book a course, you will get the Agile Change Management Handbook. So you don't need to worry about that. You will get also a reading guide to suggest which pages are going to be the most useful, and you also get sent all the slides for the course. So if you prefer visuals as opposed to doing lots of reading, then that's fine. What I'm most proud about this course, to be honest, is that the examiners who wrote all the questions. Now, I might be the chief examiner, but I don't write all of the exam questions. But what they did was a fantastic job, in that I get very frustrated by courses where apparently you only get to pass your qualification if you've sort of absorbed every single sentence on every single page, and you can give me an obscure reference or what's on page 268 of a textbook. They didn't do this. What they did was they took sort of the key chunks at each of the starts of the chapters and each of the sections within the chapter, and went, that's where we look for the questions, that's what we've built upon. And then all of the other practical stuff in the course, you've got time to absorb and practice, because you're not trying to memorize a whole load of answers all of the time. And I think that's been why this exam is seen as very fair and very reasonable, and it doesn't put you in a situation where you're sort of trying to memorize a textbook as opposed to actually having a go at the techniques. As far as the seniority of this course is concerned, I have trained this from graduate trainees who've just started within an organisation all the way up into the boardroom. I have trained hundreds of people on this course, and it's not the seniority that I think makes the difference between which course is right. The Change Management Practitioner is a brilliant course if you really need to understand, and as far as your confidence is concerned, if you are going to be a change management practitioner and you're going to be an expert in change management within your organisation, I would always say that you should do the Change Management Practitioner course, because I passionately believe that you should have the fundamental understanding of every aspect of change management. But if you are in a situation where you have got to conceive of a change or help plan a change, and you've got to sort of organise all of the work around it, then this is the course that will help you do that, because it's got the roadmap and it's got all the business value and benefits prioritisation techniques, the scoping techniques, the decomposition planning techniques. But at the same time, even the CEOs that I've trained in this course and other board members have all got something from the collaborative piece, because it's all about building the right environment. It's about building a culture that supports people when they're taking a risk through change, how you better empathetically communicate with people, how you build trusting relationships. So as far as seniority is concerned, I'm not sure it's that. I think it's, but what do you need to do? And if you've got to sort of get a change up and running, then go on this course. If you want to sort of be an advisor and an expert in change management, get the change management practitioner.
Thanks, Mel. I just want to say huge respect to Samantha, who's currently listening in from Melbourne and letting me know they're 9 hours ahead. So I make that about 11 o'clock at night. She's asking if you if you do a course to suit their time, please, Mel. And also someone's asked about India time. So how do you handle that, please?
Oh, Samantha, you're not going to like the answer, but my UK timed course, I actually do have people in Australia on the course, and yes, they stay up really late. But I was with a guy at 3 o'clock in Melbourne yesterday morning. He was giving a presentation because I was online in India last night, India and Africa last night at 8 o'clock. So I think as far as timing is concerned, also same in India, you know, you're only a few hours ahead, let's be honest. So yeah, you'll be working sort of, you know, late morning or lunchtime through to evening, but it's definitely worth it. And I can put you in touch with a few people from Australia who've stayed up and loved it. And I've kept an eye on them. And what they've done is in the lunch break, they've had a nap. And it's been my job to sort of then wake them up and then they started again. But it seems to have worked really, really well.
Okay, and Suchitra says, is there anything that she needs to come prepared with for the actual training?
I think the most important thing is to have a think about any change that you have been involved in or you want to be involved in your organisation. You also get a chance to apply these techniques to change within your personal life as well. So we do mix it up, but you will find throughout the course you're being asked to say, and how are you going to make change happen? How would you use this technique to make change happen? So I think it's a really important idea that you've got a change in mind. It could be any kind of change. I had somebody who was sort of doing their own, they're moving home and they're moving their children's schools and they're doing all sorts of things. And it's a massive change for them. They're moving to a different part of the country. They're leaving friends and family. So she took that as a sort of quite a significant change for her, and she used the roadmap and she used everything on the course about that. But the most important thing is that you come equipped, I think, with an idea of a change that you're interested in, because I think that will make it come alive for you.
Okay, the final question now, Mel. I think you might have mentioned this earlier, but Harish has asked if they enroll in the course, will they also be getting an Agile Change Management book, maybe ebook?
You can get either a hard copy book or you can get an ebook. It depends on your preference. And you will get a guide to the pre-course reading, so suggesting which pages. You'll also get all of the online slides, and then there's a massive toolkit, an online toolkit at the end of questionnaires and checklists and templates and all sorts of bits and pieces. I curate them at the end of the course based on the needs of everybody in the course, and I have a really big dig around all of my files and make lots of things available because I'm an open source kind of person. My thing is that as a result of this course and this training, you know how to actually put a change into operation. That's what really excites me, and that's what makes me think that I've done a good job. So I'm willing to share anything and everything that will help you get that done.
Okay, that's fantastic. I think that pretty much rounds it up now, Mel. Oh, sorry, we've just had one more come in saying, what's the relationship between Agile and Change? What's the relationship between the Agile and Change certifications?
Okay, so the Agile PM course, if that's what you're referring to, has a great life cycle model in it, but it obviously goes into a great deal of depth about every kind of document, every kind of process and step that you want to do, but it's looking at it through the lens of project delivery, creating those project outputs. So it's a fantastic course if you're in the detail of maybe an IT development role. But this course is looking at, it's assuming that those project deliverables are coming, but we're looking at, how do we use them? how do we actually get them into use? How do we make a difference for the organization? We've been told that we need to move to this platform because it's going to enable our customers to do lots of self-service, that we're going to be taking different roles. So we've got to create a whole new set of activities for ourselves. How do we do that? So this course is all about how do we actually make the change that's triggered by project deliverables happen. So the Agile PM course gets into the detail of the entire project life cycle, which is fantastic, but the same concepts are applied to this course because we do the Agile principles, the Agile concepts.
Mel, these are convenient, and there's just one more come through. So this will be okay. All right, I'll keep going then. So Susan says, what individual change model do you use that supports this course?
Well, if you happen to know a little bit about Kubler-Ross, Adam Hazen Hobson, William Bridges, Professor Edgar Schein, you'll also find Dr. Sean Young's work is in here, Dr. Robert Cialdini's work, Professor Daniel Goleman's work is in here. So without sounding like an old stick in the mud academic, you'll find that every single thing that's mentioned in the course I could tie back to an academic theory if you want, and I'd love the conversation myself, but I don't bore people with all of that. What I do is I've cut through it, and I know that everything we're talking about is based on a particular theory or model, but what I've cut to is but how do you do it, rather than sort of teach you all the basics of the theory or model.
Okay, that's brilliant. And does the course cover resistance?
Oh yes, there's a whole piece in environment which is about why do people resist change, how do they resist change, and more importantly, what is it that we're doing to overcome that. And there's some fantastic stuff from the School of Positive Psychology and Neuroscience that really, I just think they're such simple tricks. I'm actually writing another piece now called Neuro Hacks, which is neuroscientific hacks for, you know, quick wins, if you like, for helping overcome resistance to change, because that at the end of the day is what stops us being successful. So we really do have to spend some time on that.
Okay, that really was the last one, and I'm going to shut my eyes now in case that's not true. But Mel, just wanted to say a huge thank you very much for your time on this. Obviously, it's gone down very, very well with the audience. We've had a super engaged audience, and I think we've already got someone who's booked the course as well. Karen has said she's just signed up. So I don't know if she signed up while you were talking. I'm not quite sure. So clearly you've got some attention there, but that's brilliant.
I'll just go back to the feedback. Just leave that on there for you guys. You can get hold of me through LinkedIn, Melanie Franklin, but this is genuine stuff. And that's why I'm so pleased to do these kind of taster sessions, because I'm really proud of the outcome that we're seeing from this course. And this is from hundreds of people. So, I mean, this was just hundreds of people I've been training during lockdown. And I'm just so proud of the fact that people are sort of saying, right, okay, the world has gone to hell, but I'm going to keep going and start learning new stuff. And that, I think, is just so rewarding.
Absolutely brilliant, and we do see that all over social media. I do obviously need to say that you can find the training on APMG International as well. So if you do want to not stay up at 3 o'clock in the morning, there are other options. But obviously you've heard Mel, and that's entirely up to you. You can go and look there. But Mel, thank you once again for some fantastic advice and some fantastic details. And I'm sure you'll be getting lots of follow-up soon. We will send out the slides. We'll send out the recording to everybody that's registered. So you'll also get Mel's details and contact details on there. Thank you very much, everybody, and goodbye.
Thanks.